In this video, we're going to look at a versatile tool inside of Autodesk Inventor called Delete Face. Now, Delete Face can be utilized in a couple different fashions. The first one we're going to look at here inside of Delete Face 1 IPT is by taking a face that we don't want or a feature that we don't want and simply removing it and getting rid of it out of our design. Now, we could do that by going back in our history and cleaning up where that feature might have been. But maybe it's part of some intricate feature or it has a very difficult parent-child relationship, and we might want to just delete it later on down the tree. So let's take a look at this guy. If I zoom in to this area down here, really you could pick any one of these little holes that we got. What I want to do is get rid of this guy. So if I go up to my Modify panel, and I expand it down, there is my Delete Face command. If I select it, I have a couple different options here. I can remove an individual face, or select an entire lump or void to remove. In this case, I'm going to choose an individual face. If I pick this face and choose OK, what will happen is it will turn this solid model into a surface, because I basically took a face and I basically ripped it out of the geometry. So we'll see what that looks like. When I choose OK, this turns into a surface body, and I can now see inside the part. I can actually see through where that face was. So that's not my intended result. Let me undo that. Perform Delete Face again. Select that face, but this time choose the Heal option. Select OK, and it removes the face, but does not turn it into a surface. Now, what does that other option mean, to delete void? Well, if I were to get rid of an entire void on the inside of something, let's say I had a piece of geometry inside of here that when I ended up modeling this, I created an air pocket. I could use that delete void to get rid of that air pocket and maintain my design intent without having this unmanufacturable air pocket on the inside of my design. So it's a way to clean up some messy geometry, which is also our next example. By looking at Delete Face 2 IPT, we're going to look at the front part of this guy down here. I have a couple different faces, which during the case of I went through here and modeled and I did one thing or another trying to get to the result I wanted, I ended up with these little artifacts on my modeling geometry that I don't want. These sharp edges or these extra tangent faces, which are not needed. This little sliver down here I don't need, and I can use Delete Face to get rid of them as well. So I'll go up here to my Delete Face command, make sure my Heal option is on, select my face, and then I can right click and say OK. I'm going to do Delete Face again. With my Heal option, choose OK. You can see it healed up those faces nicely. I have a nice smooth face on the outside of that part now. This brings me to this little sliver up here. Now, if I were to delete this face, it's grabbing that entire face. I don't want to do that. So I actually need to split that off. I'll go ahead and sketch on here, project my geometry that I want to use. Got one piece there, too many. Let me delete that one. Here, I'll create a line across that. Finish my sketch. Start my split command, and I will split that face. So now I have this face, and the one on the bottom. I got three of them I want to remove. I'll delete my face here, here, and on the bottom with the Heal option enabled. And there it gets rid of that nasty chunk of my modeling data. Now our last option here on Delete Face 3 takes a look at a little bit more advanced methodology around this command. If you're dealing with complex curvatures and complex castings and plastics, things of that nature, you might have fought the fillet command quite a bit. As an example, if I take a look at this part and I add a fillet to this edge, we can see that the fillet will blend down. If I select this edge to go with it, it also blends down. If I approve it, that's not quite the corner interaction between those two edges that I want. So let me undo this. And how about I try filleting the top first? Now we can see that it's actually blending up. If I select this edge here, it tells it to go down. So I'm getting the same result there. Well, maybe if I did them one at a time. So here's the first fillet, and I'll approve that. And then the second fillet, with my defaults chosen here, it now blends up. Again, not the perfect scenario that I want here. So let's take a look at a different approach on the other side of this. This is not the easiest type of feature set to create. What I have here is a rectangular block going through the side of this cylinder in roughly the area where these fillets would match up for sizing. So you'd have to play with it a little bit more even than what I have here to get it perfect or even closer to perfect. But what I'm going to do is delete the faces off of this rectangular chunk. So I'll start the command, delete these faces. Now here I will not choose the heel option. I will just choose OK, and it turns it into a surface model. From here, I can use some surface tools to create my own blended corner where I want this to interact with these fillets as they come into it. So for that, I need to use a couple surfacing tools. I'll turn on my surface panel, and I'll start with my patch command. I'll grab this loop from my patch. I can also make that tangent to make the curvature a little bit smoother. Here I'll choose OK. Now there I have a nice blended patch for how I want that interaction to actually look. However, it's still a surface model. So I'll go up here to the flyout for patch and choose sculpt. I'll choose the surface body here and the surface patch, and then OK. And that will sculpt those back into a single solid model. Again, that's not the easiest type of thing to create, but if you wanted to have a more perfect looking blending, you might use some of these tools to do that. And delete face is absolutely something you would start with in order to get that patched surface the way you want.